I saw myself on a missing poster. I'm convinced my family replaced me. When I was 8 years old, my little brother Dylan went missing. He was 4 at the time, and he'd been out in the fenced-in backyard 1 minute and gone the next. Everyone went crazy looking for him, of course. Sheriff's office, police, my parents, friends, and neighbors. At first, everyone said that we'd find him within the first day, though even at 8, I could hear the kind lie in their voice. There was no sign of a gate being left open or a gap in the fence large enough for him to squeeze through, which meant that someone had snatched him, and unless we got an idea of who or they contacted us, well, how were we ever going to get him back? By the 3rd day, the talk had turned from finding him to waiting for a call from whoever took him. That and advertising every way my parents could think of to get his name and picture out to as many people as possible. They pushed the news stations to cover it morning, noon, and night, and for a week or so they did. But as more time passed and new stories came in, the daily reminder to call if you saw him got pushed to the back of the hour and then it was gone. My parents weren't dumb and knew this would happen, of course. They took out TV ads and put stuff out on the internet, though back then the web was not as big and popular as it is now, and the television ads were expensive. Fortunately, my mother's business was a local print shop, and she wasted no time in printing out thousands of flyers that we posted all over our part of the state. For the next year, that was our routine. Every weekend and some weekdays after work and school, we would load up and put up flyers in new areas and replace those that time and weather had eaten away. All of them were the same. The words, "Have you seen me?" followed by a recent picture of Dylan and the final line of "Please call," and then my mother's cell phone number. We spent so many hours in the car with stacks of those flyers. It felt like Dylan's ghost was haunting us through the whispered rustle of reams of paper, each of them a frozen reminder of Dylan's face staring out at us, asking why we wouldn't help him come home. By the time I was 11, my parents had divorced. My father had hung into the crusade to find their son for the first year, but when year 3 was getting close, he finally had enough. They argued and fought for a couple of weeks, and then he packed up and moved across town. Within the year, he'd taken a job in another state, and I mainly saw him at Christmas for a day or two after that. I wanted to hate him, and I guess in my way I did, but not because he'd left. Because he'd left me behind. My mother had become so focused and passionate about finding Dylan that everything else fell by the wayside. And even after any reasonable hope was lost, she didn't slow down. I know from the outside that might sound like a good thing. Find her child. But it was more than that. I didn't know the analogy then, but looking back when I got older, I likened it to a soldier who can't be comfortable in a life without war after so long on the battlefield. It was like she needed it to continue. Not just searching for him and putting up the flyers, but being seen doing it, talking to people about it, getting their sympathy and compliments and well wishes. The grieving, heroic mother had become her entire persona. And over time I came to understand she didn't know how to let it go. Still, over time it let go of her. Life moves on, people forget, and old tragedies are replaced by new ones. I remember how angry my mother was when a little girl went missing my first year of high school. Even when the girl was found 2 days later, she would stalk around the house muttering and in a foul mood. If you asked her, she'd say it was because it would make people forget about our Dylan even more. But I remember feeling uneasy when she'd say that because, well, I could hear the lie in her voice too. Something felt off, but I didn't realize it yet. As I'd gotten older, I'd done what I could to avoid her ongoing campaign. I'd have to help some weekends still, but for the most part I made sure that I had enough extracurricular activities to keep me out of her way. I think she actually preferred that. It was easier to play on people's sympathy and get attention when she could tell everyone she didn't have anyone to help her keep searching for her missing son. Still, I could tell something was coming. Like pressure building in the atmosphere before a storm, something was going to break soon. My hope was that she'd reach the point where she'd give up on finding Dylan and just live her life again, both for her and for me. Instead, one day she woke me up around 4 in the morning and told me we had to go. She was clearly distraught, sweating and crying and barely able to talk. I didn't know what was going on. Had she found out something about Dylan? Had something happened to Dad? What was it? She just waved away my questions and told me to come get in the car, that we had to go now, that she'd explain when there was time. I did as I was told, though by this point I was fully awake and growing increasingly terrified. When she got behind the wheel, I half expected her to peel out of the driveway and shoot off at top speed, but she didn't. Instead, she drove slowly and quietly, not even turning on her headlights until we were out of the neighborhood. "Mom, what's going on?" She glanced over at me, sweat still pouring down her cheeks. "It'll be okay, just wait. We're going to make it right." I turned and stared out at the passing dark. "Is it Daddy? Is he okay?" My mother gave a harsh laugh. "Oh, I'm sure he's fine. Living it up with his whore girlfriend, I'm sure." She put a hand on her other arm and rubbed it as she gave me a sour look. "Don't worry about him." I wanted to respond but didn't quite dare.
You can now check if there's a part 2 by pressing share and more.